You're listening to the Timmy Riggs podcast, Life in the Meantime. Today, I sat down with my good friend Colin Pasque, founder, owner, operator of Flow Life, which is all about making sure you can keep moving through your whole life. So I hope that you enjoy. All right. Hey, guys. I'm here with Colin Pasque, my good friend from college. So, Colin, how are you, dude?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Good. Make sure, you're like 6 inches. Let's see. I think that's good right there. Perfect. From the mic.
Yeah.
We just got done doing a workout. He came to my house, and that's a pretty good thing for you to be able to get out because I'm trying to figure out how to really intro you here. But any of my friends that listen to this are going to know you. But you just had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about your baby real quick before we get into even your business and stuff.
Yeah, totally. My wife, Carissa, and I just had our first baby on December 12th, 2020, and his name's Steele, and he was 6 pounds, 2 ounces, so a little itty-bitty guy, but he's awesome, and we're having a lot of fun with him. So he just turned a month old a few days before this podcast was recorded, so we're excited.
A month old, so you still got to come out here, do a workout, and that's the beautiful part about coming to my house is because one of the things, and I'll get into this, but this year I am investing. Like, that's my word, right? So I'm trying to invest in different areas of my life. So in the meantime, I've explained it many times on here, but in case this is the very first time anyone's listened, it's about making sure that I'm living right now. Like, if I want to get from A to B, like, there isn't a meantime between there. And so often, for me, I can just be focused on the B. And we've talked about that this morning already. And so in the meantime, it's about living now. And I think there's like 5 or 6 components to that. I haven't narrowed it down, whether there's 5 or 6 or not. But basically, spiritual. Like, there's your spiritual life. There's your mental life. Your physical, your relationships, your finances, and kind of like your career, and your job and stuff. And I think if one of them is good, but 5 of them are bad, you're not going to be where you want to be. So I think that you really need to work on all 5, all 6 of those being good, So I invested in some gym equipment. That's a long way around explaining why you came to my house and all that, and we worked out. But that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. I think some of those other ones are going to sprinkle in there, but we're going to focus on, the physical aspect of life, working out your body, taking care of it. And that's huge for you because tell us about sports in your life for high school, college, and what it kind of led to.
Yeah, so sports were a huge part of my life growing up. I grew up in a huge family of 6 kids, and I was number 3, so I was like right in the middle. And everyone in my family grew up playing sports. So I was, I grew up chasing my older brothers around, and I counted it up one day, and I literally played 9 different sports, growing up. And so
God. What are they? So let's guess.
Yeah.
All right. So basketball.
Never played. That's one of the only. I know.
First guess,
dude. That's one of the only ones I never played. Oddly
hockey?
enough, never played field hockey. Yeah,
regular hockey.
Yeah. We played ice hockey. Yeah, so we did ice hockey.
I played for 6 years.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
Down in Florida, right?
Yeah,
dude. No, I know. We played when we lived in Virginia Beach when I was like, young, like in between the ages of 2 and 5, and my older brothers were more into it than I was. But when we moved to Oklahoma, hockey wasn't the hottest sport on the market, so we went ahead and my dad switched us over to wrestling when I was like 6, and so I wrestled for like 10 years when I was a kid, and that's kind of that was my winter sport growing up. But yeah, man, no,
that makes
sports
sense.
Was huge.
I mean, I knew that, but your body is very wrestler.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I definitely am not the tallest guy in the world, and so I definitely fit the wrestler frame. But sports were a huge part of my life growing up. It's a huge part of why I fell in love with just movement and human movement, and why I think I'm heading the direction I am with my life, being in the physical therapy school and also running a fitness company. And that's one of the things I think God's really placed in my heart is a passion of mine. And being an athlete growing up, you always have something to train for. And I ended up doing pole vaulting or track and field all through college. That was kind of the sport I landed on to do in college athletics. And once I got done with that, when I was like 23, I kind of realized like, wow, I don't have anything anymore. Kind of once I explored trying to do, post-collegiate stuff with pole vaulting, and it just didn't work out. And so once I kind of realized that wasn't going to work out, I kind of had to find another outlet for myself to stay fit, to stay active. And, being someone that had always loved being active, working out, doing fitness, falling into that space came pretty naturally to me. But it actually was a funny story, how I fell into it. And it was because I had started my own foam roller company when I was 23 years old.
Did you see my foam roller out in the garage?
Yeah, I saw you repping it. Yeah, Flow Life Sports Performance. Yeah, that was the first business I ever started when I was 23 years old. And I was actually going to the gym that I wound up getting plugged into, Solid Rock Training. Shout out to Solid Rock Training in Norman, Oklahoma. Best group functional fitness gym I've ever been to in my life. They're awesome and great guys. Bob and Derek are amazing business owners and husbands and just coaches. They're amazing people. But they essentially, when I went in to meet with them, I wanted to get my foam rollers on the shelf with them. And so we had 2 meetings. The first one, they were kind of feeling me out, seeing if this was going to be a good product for them to sell to the people that went to their gym. And the second one, at the end of it, they said, have you ever considered coaching? I was like, no. And they're like, do you want to work here? And that's like, the rest is history. I ended up doing group functional fitness for a year and a half.
That's a cool story because that's a perfect in the meantime illustration.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is you had this goal and you were just moving towards that, right? And then different opportunity opened up for itself, which then has led to even more.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that just that's the importance of literally just continuing to move. Okay, so next week I'm preaching a sermon for our college group and young adult group, and the passage is going to be where Jesus says, hey, let's get in the boat, let's go to the other side. And I'm going to hone in on this idea of like God has called us to keep moving in life, like a certain direction. Like a lot of times people complain that they don't have a strong friend group, and I'll be like, okay, have you met someone at the library, or are you talking to people in the hall? Well, no, because usually they're with other people. And I'm like, okay, if you're not moving in the direction you want to go, you're not going to get the outcome that you want, Anyway, so that's a similar, I feel like that makes sense here.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, absolutely. No, yeah, and that's really, I mean, for the most part, what I was going to say about that is kind of how I got into the fitness industry was through sports. And I think it started with my desire to help athletes through that foam roller business. And then, kind of branched into what my, kind of new love is now, which is, functional fitness and helping people optimize their life through fitness. And I really think it's a powerful platform, very similar to what you do with preaching to help someone transform their lives.
Oh, sorry. Well, thanks. And I think that literally, your workouts that you're putting on, and we're going to talk all about where people can find you and,
awesome.
and learn from you and stuff. But you have your Flow Life Instagram page and YouTube, and you'll put up, quick clips of the workouts. And I'll do them, like I'll watch yours and I'll do one of them or something.
Oh, yeah.
But even today you came and we did 2 12-minute sessions.
Yeah.
And we weren't even killing ourselves, but we were worn, like I was worn out, and I'm already, like I told you already, my buns are already feeling sore,
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, this is stuff that you're doing. We're I want to get a little bit more focused here, but that was your story. That's what you're doing now. You're helping train. And I think that's amazing. What are, so your packages and stuff, tell about just do quick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, kind of piggybacking off what you just said, the whole premise of what I try and do now is help people realize, because our workout today was 2 12-minute AMRAPs, which is as many rounds as possible for anyone who might not be familiar with that term. But it really doesn't take more than about 30 minutes a day to not only take care of your body, but also help transform it. And I think that experience in itself, is very transformative because it can lead to a change in your energy levels. It can lead to a change in your confidence. It can lead to, even in a way that you just see life in general. And I think, it's a really fun way to do that with people. And, I always try and, put it in perspective. If you check your screen time, how if you have an iPhone out there, it gives you that screen time report at the end of every week, right? Well, I would, imagine that a majority of people have in between 2 and 4 hours of screen time a day.
Yeah.
A day, right? And so if you multiply that by 7 days, you're minimally spending 14 hours a week on your phone. That's a lot of time.
Crazy. They do that times a year.
Yes. No, exactly.
Did you listen to Craig Rochelle's podcast? this past week or whatever?
No, I
on
didn't.
Focus?
I saw it. No, I did
He
not.
talks about how now studies are showing that, like, obviously we don't know how everything's going to change or whatever, but the average person is going to spend 10 years of their life on social media or Netflix or whatever. And Craig was like, "Can I get up in your business? That's gross. That's wrong. You need to change."
Yes.
I was like, "Ooh, I like you telling me I need to change." Like, that's good, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, dude, and that's a great, like, I mean, it just puts it further into perspective. You know, when you look at fitness, like, most people think, oh, I need to work out, 3 to 5 times a week. Like, so we're talking, like, minimal, an hour and a half of your time a week versus 14 hours that you spend on your phone. And that's only if you do 2 hours a day. My screen time's higher than that, mainly because I run a business through social media. And so I spend a lot of time on my phone. But at the same time, you got to think about it. Like, you got to put that into perspective, because I always, you know, people are always like, oh, I just can't get motivated, or I don't have the time. My schedule's too busy. And I would just want to call bull crap on it, you know? And I think that helping people see that, and then, you know, helping them through the programs that I write and the coaching that I give online kind of will help, you know, not only help them establish healthy habits, but help them establish a healthy relationship with movement. Because ultimately, if you don't have a healthy relationship with anything, right, with your phone, with your friends, your spouse, whatever it might be, you know, all the other areas are going to suffer. And so if you don't have a healthy relationship with fitness and with movement, where, you know, maybe you look at it as like an obligation and you feel guilty when you don't do it. You know what? If you do 30 minutes a day, I can imagine that it's not going to become so much of like a guilt trip thing that you feel every day. It's going to become more of something that you look forward to, right? Just shutting your brain off for 30 minutes, moving your body, sweating. You're going to feel amazing afterwards. Your energy levels are going to be higher. And, you know, at the end of the day, you're just going to be a better you. And so my programs, back to like your original question, are built around that. I have custom training, which is basically where, we will talk, one-on-one. We'll do a 30-minute movement assessment. I'll create a program that's tailored specifically to what I see in that movement assessment, as well as what your goals are. So if you wanted, like, let's say Timmy wanted to be just absolutely yoked.
I want to look like you.
Dude, come on. But like, let's say if you wanted to weigh like 200 pounds of just muscle and you wanted to be like 10% body fat, your program's going to look a lot different than, maybe a 40-year-old single mother that doesn't have a whole lot of time on her hands, but she just wants to be healthy and be around to play with her grandkids in 30 years, Mm-hmm. And so that's what I help design for people, though, is because like both workouts are still going to take roughly around 30 minutes a piece. Their training sessions are going to last 30 minutes a piece, but they're going to be built differently. So that's the custom training package, is doing that.
And they have access to you.
Absolutely.
So you can make this
app.
package, and this is stuff you're helping create, where you're saying, hey, you could just work out at home.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that's the other thing, is you bring to me whatever resources you have. So for instance, you are a rare case. You have a full gym, which is sweet, by the way, guys, in his garage.
Riggs Oasis.
Hey, it's coming.
Yeah.
2030. Not
yeah. The beginnings are here. The seed is here.
That's right. But someone like you would be honestly really easy to program for, because you have all these tools in your garage. But I have some people who come to me that only have one pair of dumbbells and a jump rope. All right. And I'm like sitting there thinking, that's not very much equipment. But guess what? Like I have workouts and movements upon movements upon movements that we can stack together that is going to give you enough variety where you don't get tired of it, enough, movement, library that are a big enough movement library where you're going to have fun doing these movements, but it's also going to help keep it engaging and keep it fun each week. And, I can still create a great program that helps you, achieve your goals with that. It's going to maybe look a little different timeline wise if you don't have as much equipment, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm not chasing after numbers with people. I'm more so chasing after helping them restore their confidence, their energy levels, helping them, just feel better about themselves and create the habits that's not going to just last for the month or 6 months that they work with me. It's going to help them, do this for the rest of their life. And so I try and educate people on why we do things and, why do I build a workout the way that I do? If I was training you, I don't want you to need me. at the end of the day, I want to educate you enough to where like maybe like 6 months from now or a year from now, you feel like you know enough about fitness that you can hop on, a workout and write it yourself and get after it. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a coach or a personal trainer, but you can do it yourself. So that's the biggest package I offer. And then there's another, a couple like pre-made programs, like a 6-week immersion program that's 45 days long. And it's essentially, pre-written, but I take people through just almost like a habit formation process, where you're learning to just move 30 minutes a day for basically 45 days straight. And, it's not like you're like doing HIIT training every single day like that. But, at the same time, it is kind of helping you develop the habit. And like I said earlier, build a good relationship with movement. And then the last one would be more of like a subscription based thing. So like for a guy like you, you're already pretty fit, but it gives you some more tools.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Say it again.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Timmy Riggs is the epitome and
Okay, that's not true.
the epitome of health.
Yeah, not close.
No, but like you're already a fit guy, right? You're not, you're young. You were an athlete. You were a college athlete. Like you did sports when you were growing up. I'm not worried about you necessarily maybe needing a custom program. So I have like a lower tier, lower cost program that I put out every week that is, you can either do it with all body weight. So like if you traveled a lot and you didn't have access to a gym, awesome. Or you can do it with dumbbells. And so it's kind of like a minimalist program that, offers a little bit more than just the regular training app does. And it also gives you like the opportunity to track your nutrition, and I give you a nutrition guide to follow and that sort of thing. So those are the three
awesome,
things.
Dude.
Yeah.
So,
it's fun, man.
And those are the things that if you're interested, you can jump in on that and get involved with Colin. I think that, even when we talked about those 5-6 components that I opened up in the beginning, like you said, like when you're happy about the way that you feel, I mean, that's like me. I feel like even in the summertime, I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. And then in the fall, I was eating a lot more fast food just because we were doing different things, work and then Christmas lights and all this stuff. So I was busy schedule. And I was like, man, I gotta change. Like even right at Christmas, I was like, I'm just going to start now. I'm not waiting until the new year, Yeah. And we've had habits. Siv and I have had habits where we eat pretty healthy. Like I was telling you, like we just don't keep any junk food in the house for the most part, because I don't have the control if it's here,
Out of sight,
but it's like if your physical body, like it's going to have implications on your mind, and then your it's going to be a nice wheel, like once you start feeling better and you're, like the way that you even look. I mean, I think that's important. I think people try to downplay that, but it's like you have to feel comfortable, Yeah. And everybody's different. So I think that kind of moves into the conversation of even eating and stuff, because I think that there are so many times when I know, like, I've heard a podcast, they talk about calling it good or bad is not the right thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you can't add a morality to food, but we should be a little bit more like, this is healthy or this is unhealthy, right?
Sure.
And let's talk through your eating habits. Okay. And I want to hear about them. I'll tell you kind of where I'm at, where at. It's a little bit different. So my wife is pregnant, so some stuff doesn't taste as good to her as it did before. So we're having to be versatile there. But let's talk about how you eat and your discipline there, because obviously still, like, you can work out really hard and a lot's not going to change if your eating's not changing.
Yeah, no, nutrition's huge. And I just went through that with my wife, and she had some crazy cravings. So we had 9 months of just kind of a moving target trying to hit what she wanted to eat. So I feel you there. But yeah, no, nutrition's always, honestly, it's where you can make up the most ground, and it's kind of where you can lose the most ground when it comes to your health and your fitness. And I and the guys at Solid Rock Training, when I worked there, they taught me this rule. It's the 90-10 rule. And basically what that means is 90% of the time, you're eating pretty clean. You're eating healthy meals. You're eating real foods, non-processed stuff, things like that. And then 10% of the time, you're enjoying yourself, So we just talked about this earlier, like doing like 2 to 3 cheat meals a week. That's not a bad thing. And a lot of people, I think, associate they're like, I'm either going all in or I'm not. Well, guess what? That's not going to be sustainable for the long haul.
And that's I picked 3. So 3 treat meals a week. And Kate, my friend Kate is the one that made me switch the word from cheat to treat.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Like,
that's great.
You know, like
Shout out to
it's not a
Kate.
bad thing. It's
Yeah.
just like, this is this is a little bit of a reward, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, go ahead.
No, and I like that too, because that even further plays into the fact that a lot of eating is very mental. Everyone's like, oh, I have a sweet tooth, which, by the way, I enjoy sweets. Like, I love sweet stuff. But like, they say, oh, I have a sweet tooth or this and that, or I crave salty stuff or whatever. Well, there's been like studies like in the literature looking at like, okay, you actually like can rewire that, because that might be just the culture that you grew up in. That might be the way that your parents fed you, or just, you know, how you've eaten the last 10 years. Those pathways in your brain can actually be rewired. And so it just takes time. And that's the biggest thing, is once you commit to trying to transform the way that you see food, and like I said, relationship to movement, you're trying to make it healthy, you're also trying to build a healthy relationship with food. You need to not look at food as a means to an end. You need to look at food as, you know, a way to sustain yourself. You know, look at it as fuel. Like, what am I putting in my body now that's going to help me for my meeting this afternoon at 2:00, right? Like, what am I putting in my body now that's going to help me look good when I'm 50 years old and I'm only walking around right now, I'm like 25 years old or 26 years old. Like, that's the type of relationship that you want to build with it. So,
but still not just in the sense of like, it's just fuel. I just have to get it done. I'm going to scarf down these raw carrots. Like,
enjoy
you can still
it.
make, like our smoothies that we just had
Yes.
that I made us.
Yeah, dude,
That's a perfect
Tim
example.
just made like the greatest smoothie of all time. I'm waiting for him to open up a smoothie
Yeah,
shop.
I'm about to.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, it's great. But back to kind of like, you asked me what my eating habits are. I start every 24 hours, I have either a 12 to 16 hour fasting window that usually starts around 7 or 8 p.m. at night, and then it goes to the next day. And I mean, guys, honestly, it depends on what my day looks like. Like, some days when I'm really busy, I might have to eat my first meal at 7 a.m. whenever I'm kind of like really getting up and around and things around the house, and that's a 12-hour fast. But then other days I might not have as much to do in the morning. Like, I like to stretch that out because it makes my body metabolically flexible. It makes my body realize, like, okay, like, yes, I do have a time when I get hungry, but I don't have to eat necessarily like right then and there. My body is made to last a lot longer than that, and so I usually start my day with that. Then every single day, the top priorities is just trying to eat, protein at every single meal. And so prioritizing protein first and foremost. Whenever you look at the meal, say, where's the protein coming from? And that can look very different at each meal. But I always love to, try and stick. Like, I'm a guy, I weigh around 170 pounds. And so I try and eat roughly about 0.8 grams to a gram of protein per pound of body weight.
so do you weigh your food? Because that's one thing I just haven't gotten into.
Yeah. So no, I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of weighing my food. And you know what? I would like to one of these days, just as an experiment. But let's be honest. Unless I had all the time in the world, that's probably not the most sustainable way to treat your nutrition.
That's how I feel about it.
So maybe you're thinking, how the heck do I know if I'm getting enough protein?
Scientist.
Yeah, right. No, and the way you can look at it as, okay, you have measuring cups, you can measure things out. That kind of gives you the ballpark. But one thing that I like to teach my clients is the hand system. And that's something that, is pretty easy to follow. And it's looking at using your hand as measuring the portions for each of the categories of food, right? So you're looking at proteins,
it's like
fats.
picturing you at a fancy restaurant, just grabbing all the food, like picking it up, throwing it back down.
Yeah,
That looks
no.
good.
I mean, it's essentially like, like a guy, like a fistful is usually like, if I do a fistful of protein, which is like, roughly maybe like a cup of like chicken, that's probably going to end up being around 30 or 40 grams of protein.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, so you can ballpark things based off of that. And that's all. I have all of that actually for free on my website. And it's, that's something that's, I think everyone should have access to.
What's your flowlife.com?
www.flowlife.com.
Okay.
FLY. Yeah. LYFE. That's right. But essentially, that's kind of how I treat each meal. So I try and get about 30 to 50 grams of protein in each meal, and that puts me, at the end of the day, roughly around like 150 grams. And if I can get above 150 grams, like, I'm doing pretty solid. But at like the least amount of protein that I want to consume a day is right around that 150 mark. And so, but again, that's different for everybody. that's different from
But
males.
that's
and
really good
females,
because I
so-
definitely don't track at all. I have no idea. So like,
Yeah.
even this last week and a half, I've eaten a lot better, but I don't know
Sure.
how much I'm consuming.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it helps you. I think when you do it that way, you wind up eating. You prioritize. Like I know, you guys don't eat keto, correct? You eat like kind of like more Whole30.
More
type
like
stuff.
Whole30, yeah.
So it helps you kind of understand. Like it helps you understand where all of your categories, like your macros, are coming from. And it helps you really look at your plate and be like, okay, like I can tell like I'm eating way more carbs than I am the other, the fats and the protein, right? But if you prioritize protein first, most of the time you wind up being pretty equal at the end of the day, pretty balanced diet. So, and everyone, they want to cut carbs. I don't think carbs are bad. I think carbs are fine. I think carbs are, that's literally what your body uses for energy. Your muscles need carbs. So, don't be scared of carbs.
So the big thing right now is not all calories are created equal. Is that the same thing for carbs?
Yes.
Okay. So like, me eating a loaf of white bread
Yeah. Or
compared
a donut.
and throw me some healthy carbs. Sweet potato.
Sure. Sweet potatoes. Honestly, guys, like any leafy greens, you got your starches.
That
you
was
got
part of
potatoes.
one of the things we did in the smoothie.
in
The
general.
smoothie was baby kale and baby spinach,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
has a lot of really good nutrients in there for your stomach and everything.
Most vegetables are more rich in carbs, the carbohydrates, right? Like there's not a lot of like fat and protein in vegetables, but they have a lot of really good carbohydrates that are natural. They're easy for your body to break down and use. And so, most carbs that come from vegetables are going to be good. Fruits are another really quick, easy source of carbs, honestly.
And they're sweet.
And they're sweet. And so those add kind of that, like I mean, my wife thinks I'm sick for saying this, but like sometimes I try and eat like a little fruit bowl after dinner if I'm like, oh, like I want a dessert, you know? You know what I mean?
It's sick in the sense of
Yeah,
like,
she's like, dude, you're
you
nasty.
jerk.
Yeah. So
like
she's-
we're over here trying not to eat chocolate cake.
She thinks
and you're
I'm
like,
whack, man.
oh, give me some watermelon.
yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about like life, like hacks, like food hacks and stuff. So,
Cool.
because I'm like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde when it comes to my eating. Like, I'm reading a book right now called Super Life, and
Love
he's
it.
talking about the 5. It's the guy, have you seen the Zac Efron?
Yeah, no, I know
thing?
exactly. It's
Dorian or something?
Darian.
Darian.
Yeah.
Kind of a strange guy. Unless you listen, Darian, I think you're awesome. But he's unique, and but he really is cool and really cares about the body and
Yeah.
people. And he wrote this book, and it's about the 5 things, right? So hydration. You don't know. You didn't read the book. It's me. He talks about, I'm going to say alkalinization. I'm not there yet. I have no idea what that means. Okay.
Greens. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm
so
assuming that's what it means.
I can't even remember the 5, so it's embarrassing. So, but I'm telling you, all this guy is doing is writing facts about water,
Yes.
like and how important it is. And I'm over here ready to fight with the 300. Like he is amping me up, and I'm like, he made water so exciting, And he talks about like the 8 cups, and that if we drink that, like that's the maximum amount. But you can survive on 2 ounces of water a day. Like that's it. And so he's like, your life is going to be way less the maximum potential that it could be. Like you're going to be surviving, but you're not thriving, right?
Yeah,
And so I think that we just get used to that, and everyone's like that in their own eating habits. So let me get back to feeling like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And that is that, like, I love it. I love the idea of eating healthy. I'm all for it. I believe in all the reasons. Like, I want to be 65, 70, still playing basketball with my grandkids. Like, I want that. Those are my goals. But then there's times, and like I can be really strong in like seasons. And then there's times where I'm like, I'm busy, I'm tired. Let me just pick some up for the 3rd night in a row on my way home, and I'll eat it. And then I feel worse like the next day. But it's just like, and I know better. I know that, like, but it's like, it's hard, right? So basically I want us, like you are, and anybody in that field that really does it, it's a little bit like you've compounded discipline for your whole life. So us average people that want to be better, but it takes, time. Like, do you have any tricks? I don't know.
Sure.
Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy that's also just had a baby, but he's not like you, and he's crushing the meal train casseroles that are brought over to his house. I don't blame him, because that's gonna be me. I'm just accepting it. Okay?
Hey man, we had the meal train going for a couple weeks, and I'll just say I've almost single-handedly smashed a whole brisket like in about a week's time. So it's, I definitely went down that route as well. But no, I mean, really, let's look at like simplifying things, right? I think a lot of times when people get on these crazy nutrition plans, diet plans, all these different diets and, honestly, fad diets that are out there, number one, they're hard to sustain because a lot of times they require prepping an insane amount of food at the beginning of the week, making sure that you cook every single meal, that sort of thing.
Or it's like chicken and broccoli.
Exactly.
Non-stop.
And it doesn't taste great, right?
You smell up the office cafeteria.
Yes. No, exactly. And so you really got to look at, number one, is my, capacity to eat healthy? What are my processes right now? Are they too complicated, or maybe are they too simple, right? And so if they're too complicated, so let's just say like you're, like you're doing Whole30 and you have to meal prep like your 2,000 calories of fruits and vegetables. Like, can you eat fruits on Whole30?
Yeah.
Yeah, so fruits and veggies, right? And so I've never done it. I want to.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you get used to it really fast. It's really hard, awesome. Obviously, too.
Dude.
But all it is, for 30 days, you do whole foods only, right?
No, I think there's a place for that, I think.
Yeah.
Right? And it like, we can get on that later. But yeah, so really, if you just take a step back and you look at your systems on what are you doing right now and is it working? If it's not working, then you may need to go back to the drawing board, right? And so I always tell people, number one, hydration for sure. Like back to what Darian was talking about in that book that you mentioned. Hydration's huge, right? And every single day, like I think everyone should start the day with at least an 8-ounce glass of water, if not 16 ounces. Before they do coffee, before they drink juices or anything like that, try and drink some water first. Then throughout your day, try and drink non-caloric beverages, right? So I'm talking strictly mainly just water. Like I know that everyone's gonna roll their eyes, but diet sodas, like, just try and stick away from processed drinks and then drinks that have calories in them, because ultimately, like, if you're getting your calories from a Dr. Pepper every day, which they have like 145 or something like in them, guys, like you could literally go eat like a freaking bowl of fruit and get like the same amount of calories, probably almost close to like the same amount of sugars and like whatever, like probably close to that, but they're natural sugars.
And your body's like,
and your body's gonna feel, it's gonna feel way better. It's not gonna feel lethargic and crappy. And so put good stuff in your body whenever you can. Start the day with water, finish it with water, drink all day if you can. And then ultimately, like when you're looking at building out, a week of meals, plan out your treat meals, right? Plan out your treat meals, because if like, hey, I know on Tuesday I'm going to lunch with my boss. We are going to go to that barbecue joint down the road, and I'm going to get
Clark's Crew.
There you go.
It's the best. Have you eaten there?
No, I've never eaten there.
Oh my God.
I've heard of it though. It sounds amazing.
I already used all my treat meals, or we'd go right now.
Yeah, dude, it's great. So, but that's the perfect point, right? Like if I know I'm coming up on a cheat meal or treat meal on Tuesday at lunch, I think that I have a better mindset heading into Sunday and Monday, where I can be more disciplined with what I'm eating, And
so I really like that. So, create that system. I think the one thing you said that I really like is keep putting like good stuff. Anytime you have a chance to put good things in your body, do.
Yes.
So I envisioned almost like a kind of like with a budget, right? Like income, outcome, right? Like, so make sure your expenses aren't more than your income, right? So it's like if you could say, I'm going to try to have 60% good, 40%. Okay, let's change the language here. Like I said, I don't like good versus bad, but 60% really healthy, body's going to thrive on it. 40% like, I could do without, that's a good change, especially if you've been 90-10 for a while or something. Yeah. So the other thing that I read somewhere was seeing your diet like a batting average. Mm-hmm. So like what's crazy in the MLB, like a 250 batting average, which means you hit the ball 25% of the time. Is really good. Yes. You're gonna stay in the majors, and you're getting on base, everything. So it's like that's crazy, because that doesn't seem like that great of a batting average, But it's like if you're gonna eat, let's say Monday through Friday, 21 meals, like if you can shoot for 15 of them to be healthier, good food for your body, like that's really good.
Yeah.
15 out of 21, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Absolutely. No, and that's especially
just brainstorming here.
Well, no, if you're starting, let's say you're only eating 10 good meals a week and you know the rest of the 11 are probably like a donut for breakfast, or you're going out to eat with your colleagues at lunch or something like that. I mean, if you could shift the scales in a positive direction, that's where you start. That's where you start, because ultimately it's a domino effect. Anyone knows, like, it's just like, hey, like, let's say I want to run a marathon. You think I can go out next week and do it? I mean, maybe, but my freaking shins and my legs are probably going to be like broken in half by the end of it, because I just haven't trained for it, right? And so I need to start out, hey, maybe this week I'm going to run a mile every day. Or maybe not even that. I'm going to go for a walk for 20 minutes a day. And then over time, right, as you are able to progressively kind of overload your body each and every week and month that passes, you're going to eventually reach your goal, but you have to be in it for the long game. So if you're looking at nutrition, you know, from the standpoint of like, I really want to make a genuine change in my life, don't just look at, hey, I want to lose weight in 30 days. That's awesome. Spring break for some people is probably coming up in 2 months. Everyone's like, all right, time to get fit for spring break. Like, no, like try to look past spring break. Let's look to Christmas of next year, right? Like, where do you want to be at Christmas of next year? And, you know, that gives you an entire year to plan ahead, to look at your 12-month plan, to see, you know, maybe if I'm eating 10 bad meals or 10 good meals a week right now, this month I'm going to start with 12. And the next month I'm going to go to 14, and the next month. So it makes it a lot easier to reverse engineer something like that. Start with like what your goal is, right? To get to a good balanced place, and you'll find that it gets way easier, you know, and you're going to go a lot faster than probably what your even 12-month plan looks like, but it's going to be sustainable. You're going to find good patterns for you that help you stay on track through that process that you'll be able to do for the long term instead of just doing for a week.
Yeah, that's so good. So building that system, and then build it as you go. Maybe the first, like exactly what you just said. So the first week, try this, ramp it up 1 degree every week, you know?
Exactly.
Can you imagine, like you just said, in a year, heck, even a 5-year process, you know, instead of so many times people are like, I'm going to start new year, I'm going to work out 2 hours a day, I'm going to eat just this. I mean, I've been there, I've done that. You know? So that's why this year is so much more about, hey, I'm going to invest in my body, you know, slowly and surely, but like trust that this seed will turn into something better. Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up.
I have a comment on that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, then you can wrap it up. So I have a client, and I'm not going to mention his name, obviously, but he's been working with me since August. And I'm not trying to like put a plug in for me, but I'm more so trying to put a plug in for the process. And the process is exactly what it is, right? You could be training with anybody in the world. You could be on anybody's nutrition plan, but you're a part of the process. And this dude's been getting after it, I think, since the beginning of August this past year. And it's now been about 5 months, and he originally started at about 189 pounds, and he wanted to he's a tall guy, so he wanted to put on some lean muscle. Well, he just told me the other day he weighs 200 pounds, right? So he's put on 11 pounds. Well, for some people, they might look at that and be like, oh, like I feel like I could do that in a month. But yeah, would it be sustainable? Like, would that be just fat that you put on in a month, you know? And this guy's like, he feels amazing. He said he feels better and lighter than he ever has before, but he's the heaviest he's probably been. Like ever. Wow, yeah. And this dude's a stud. And so it's just looking at...
And I bet all of his systems, I bet he's getting good sleep.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and he enjoys himself. He's a very successful individual, and he goes on vacations, you know, often. Like he enjoys himself. But the one thing that we started with and that he stuck to is 30 minutes a day. Wow. 30 minutes of movement a day can literally change your life, because... You're telling me right now that if you're on vacation even, and if you get up in the morning and, you know, God forbid, you might be hungover, you might be not feeling great, whatever. You get up in the morning and you move for 30 minutes. Are you telling me that you're not going to make healthier decisions throughout the rest of the day? Same thing with every single day life, you know. If you start the day with being intentional, moving for 30 minutes, the rest of the day, you're probably going to make healthier decisions. The choice to take the donut at the office or not, and instead eat an apple or a banana, that's a lot easier at that point, right?
So true.
So it's a trickle effect, brother. It's a domino effect. And if you start with the first domino and stop looking at the, 12,000th domino down the line, stop looking at that. Look at the first one, tackle that and knock that one over first. The rest of it's going to come into play after that.
Yeah. That's so good, man. And I think you're absolutely right. Build momentum, get it primed, classic things so that we know about everything, right? You gotta go up to the girl or guy to say hi before you go on the first date. Right? So it's like, it all takes time. The last thing too is just that, you have one body. I think that's the thing that I'm always like, I've got one body. Like, I would rather make sure I'm taking care of it and moving. And seriously, my heart breaks when I see people for whatever reason, but maybe they're a little bit older and they're just having trouble just walking. And it's like, hey, you're not that old, and it just might be too much weight or just a lifetime of not exercising, taking care of their body. So now, those muscles aren't even there to really help out. And so it's just like, I'd much rather be putting in the time and you fall in love with it, Yeah. And the other thing, this is my last thing, because, and that is like the Whole Foods and stuff. Even when we're on Whole30, you see that there's such a variety of food that we miss out on when we're just eating fast food or restaurant food or just whatever, There's so many more food, and that's another conversation for another time. But dude, thanks for being on, and let's wrap it up with, tell us, kind of give your Instagram handle, your website, all the ways that people could, if they're interested, follow you, get a hold of you, all that stuff.
Yeah, awesome. First off, thanks for having me on. Like this is actually the first podcast I've ever done. So,
Yeah.
and I know that this is gonna be a big.
Well, say hi to my mom.
Yeah, what's up? What's up, Miss Riggs? So yeah, guys, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just at FlowLife, FLOLYFE, and my website's the exact same thing, flowlife.com. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. If you go and follow any of those platforms, I post daily on all three of them. And honestly, if you guys want to reach out to me personally, if you have questions about anything I've said today, if you have questions about getting started, I'm always happy to answer them.
Sweet, dude. Well, thank you, Colin. Thanks for being on, and we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks.